Hi, everybody. This is Edie's from Xica Nation, Xica Media, and we're here with a special guest today, Mayda Garcia, who is a member of the Society of Native Nations in San Antonio and who is an advocate for the deaf community. Welcome, Mayda. Nice to
Hey,
have you.
oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, we're so excited to have you. I've seen your feed over time online, and I know that you work with the deaf community. I've seen you sign some awesome videos, like the one against the black snake, the
Oh,
pipeline,
oh, that's
and
it.
which is a music video. So it was really awesome to watch. And lately, I've been seeing that you have been involved in this crisis out in NISD in the Northside Independent School District in San Antonio, Texas, where they are discriminating against deaf kids. It's federal law that and federal funds that guarantee access for deaf kids and language resources for deaf kids in schools, but they seem to be violating those laws and taking the money and not being held accountable. So before we get into that, just real quick, I wanted to welcome you again. And could you tell us a little bit more about what you do and how you got started in ASL?
Oh, let's see. Oh, I'm Maida. I'm actually born and raised Cali, but I reside in San Antonio. Been here for a while. My history with ASL, I actually needed a class to get my full 12 units, and I was looking for the quickest class, and they had an ASL class. And I fell in love with the language. I began to volunteer at the School for the Deaf in California in Riverside, and that was just opened the door of just, man, so many opportunities. I fell in love with the culture, the language, the people, um, and then I was able to help in other ways because more than half, I think it was like 65% were second language learners that came from Spanish speaking families. So I was able to assist with teaching English and ASL, which was really difficult. So that's how I came to ASL years ago. I haven't, we've been here for years, but I kept the language up with my signing of songs. That's how I've kept my vocabulary up. But my ASL skills are, they're getting better as the last few weeks have gone by. I've taught it to my children. I sing the songs, and that's how it's kept up. And what recently happened is one of my best friends here, her daughter is hard of hearing. Well, she's deaf, and she goes to this regional deaf program, which is at Bronze Station Elementary School. And she discovered that her child is not receiving the services that she is supposed to be getting. So that has been the beginning of this craziness that is happening here in San Antonio. So
So can you tell us a little bit of background? Like, how did you find out? Like, how did you find out about it? Like, what stories did you start to hear, what happened with the parents?
well, actually, it started. There was a teacher. She was so I think she was a teacher at the school, and she quit. She left the school, and so did some interpreters. And they contacted my friend and was like, "You need to start asking questions. Things are changing." And she wasn't sure exactly what they meant. And they're like, "You need to start asking these questions when you go to your art, because if you have a child who's special needs, and if you have an art meeting, that's required that you sit down with principal, with administrators, with everything they need for this special needs child. So you get what their tools they need, and you fill out an IEP, which is an individualized education plan, which is supposed to be followed to the letter because it's law. Like, you must follow that. Breaking an IEP is breaking the law." She came to find out her child has not been receiving services for over a year. The school has flat out, and even the one of the, I don't know if she's the director of special education, sat across from my friend and lied to her face, but didn't realize she was being recorded, and lied about having an AI room, which is an auditory impairment room, where the children are mandatory, it says in all their IEPs, to be pulled from their room so they can go to their AI room where they're taught in their language in ASL, where they have time to socialize and learn in their language. But that was taken away without telling the parents. The principal took away services. I mean, the list just goes on. Well, first of all, the principal says there's no deaf culture. I have met moms that he has told there's no deaf culture. he told a mom of 3 children, 3 deaf children, we do not need to sign to your children. It's not mandatory. And these are profoundly deaf children. So, I mean, it just blows my mind, the ignorance and the audacity that these people think that they could just be like, oh, they're just deaf kids, put them aside. These rooms that they have that are special auditory impairments made, they're up to deaf code, which is regulations that you have to have for these rooms. They have 2 rooms at the school, took them away from the deaf kids, gave them to the hearing kids. I think it's 4th grade hearing kids using them for I don't know what reason. But since we recently had interviews on the news, protests, and all this social media coming out, it's made enough noise that they're like, oh, here, you get a room back. This room looks, from my friend says, it looks like a storage room. There's no posters, no resources, no books, no emergency flashing lights. It is not up to code. And when the director of special ed was with her, because she asked to see it, they told her, she asked, where are the lights? And the special ed director of the district was like, I don't know, maybe they're on order. Like, she didn't. My thing is, you have 2 rooms that are made for these children and they're not using it. And then to top it off, out of all the children that should be using that room, Regina asked, well, how many are using the room? And she said they just kind of looked down and were like, oh, just Miley. So the only child using the room is Miley. And that's only because her mom's the one complaining the loudest. None of the other children have access to this. And we don't even know if all the parents know, because we've been meeting parents that just found out 2 weeks ago of what's happening, that haven't even been aware. Even though they've noticed changes in their students, they don't want to sign as much anymore. Their personality has changed. They're not as happy to go to school. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And the families that heard about this or saw the changes, the ones that are able to moved, some have moved to Austin. They literally had to relocate their families because the School for the Deaf in Austin, which is an amazing school, but the reality of someone being able to pick up and relocate your family is not the easiest thing to do. Other people are using phony addresses just so they don't have to go to the school because they've heard of all the problems. I just don't even understand how people can do this. They have deaf children who want to socialize and talk. They're not even given time to socialize in their language, so they can't even talk to other deaf children. And like I said, it's crazy what they're doing. And the thing is, it's against the law. It's not that it's just like, oh, we're doing this. We didn't give them a certain paper. You're breaking the law. These are federals so they're working on grievances against the district. They took it to Texas Education Agency. They're working on grievances against the school. But I just don't understand how it's not just one person. At first it was like, oh, it's the principal, but is it just the principal? Because the principal, the special ed director, and when it first started, my friend was like, oh, they're really listening to me. But basically all they were doing was pacifying her and be like, oh yeah, we're going to take care of that. Don't worry. We got this. But they were lying. They were straight out lying. So yeah, it's been insane. And it's happening everywhere. I'm receiving emails and support from across. I mean, I have people from Japan and India too, but across the country. In California, there's a group of like 40-some families that are fighting the exact problem. There's an advocate in Chicago who told me, oh, keep it going. We need this scene because it's happening in Michigan. It's happening in Virginia. It's happening in Florida. So these deaf children are literally not getting access to their education. And I don't think people realize, like, language deprivation and leads to education deprivation, and these children have no foundation. And without language, they show symptoms of brain damage. Like, it's so sad. I mean, I get so upset because I'm sitting here and I've met these families and I think of my students of years ago and how our school was their family. I mean, that's their familia, their community. They sign, they have their teachers, they have their role models where they feel at home, and that they're taking that away. And I just don't understand it. I'm so pissed off about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm here thousands of miles away, and I am hearing some of the stories that you're sharing with these kids, like that one girl that was told that she could not sign to her friends Like, she's not even able to have the rights of a normal student and a human being and communicate in the school. And yet there's these federal laws that are supposed to protect them, and these administrators believe they're above the law and think that they can get away with it as long as the parents don't find out, as long as they're quiet. Or, like you were saying earlier when we were talking before we started, that they're expecting folks just to simmer down for the issue just to kind of go away. So what has your experience been with the parents as you're informing them that their students are being discriminated in school like this?
About 2 weeks ago, we were trying to get a group of the family. We're trying to contact the families, which is really difficult because all these children don't live in the district of the school. They're all bussed in because this is the only regional depot in San Antonio. So they're bussed in to go here. So they're across San Antonio. So they're going here, and the parents, well, first you think you could trust the school to take care of your child, which we all know that doesn't always happen. And now they're trusting their special needs child to get on a bus and go across the city to a place where they have special, have the tools, the resources to provide your child. That's why you're sending them so far away. And yet they're not even doing that. And the parents, there's one little boy, and I think he's like 10. I met his parents, and I was there when they just found out. The mom was almost in tears, and man, there was one angry dad and they started talking about how his personality had changed over the years, but like they didn't understand. So that he used to be happy, and when he would walk into school, one of the teachers, because we have spoke to some of the people, and the ones that talked to us are like, oh, he used to be happy. He'd walk in all happy and hi, hello, hello. Now he doesn't sign. He walks in looking down, his slow. I mean, there's just so many things. Like, you're breaking this child's spirit. They have it. It goes so much deeper than, oh, wait, you're not learning just to read, which is a huge deal, but it's emotionally, it's socially, it's psychologically, they're affecting these children. And they don't just need their language, they need their role models. They need to see their teachers that are there. They need to see, there's a counselor that, I think they took away her position. These children need a counselor that can talk to them and explain things like, okay, if there's a fire alarm, do you know how to explain that to a child who's deaf? If someone's touching you in a place that you shouldn't be touched, is there someone that can explain that to that child? It's not as basic as just opening a book and like, oh yeah, these are your ABCs, which they're not even getting that in what they're allowed. They have interpreters, and having an interpreter, like they turn off the lights a lot so they can watch videos or something. I met a substitute who has to buy her own load of flashlights so she can spotlight the interpreter because they don't have a way to show it. And for the older students, they don't have closed captioning for everything like they should for those deaf students. The more I learn, the more I'm just disgusted and I'm just angry. And it's so sad because I'm listening to the stories. And my thing is, some parents don't even know. I found out 2 days ago, some of these parents are Spanish speaking parents, live on the other side of town. They don't have internet, and we don't know how to contact them. Like, what do we do? I mean, follow the bus? Like, we don't know what to do. And I'm fortunate and that I'm able to help and support in this way, that I'm able, and finding out, I've just blown my mind, but I have that luxury. I mean, my hours of work are early morning. Teaching China is the one benefit is it's early morning, but I'm able to put that extra time in that these parents can't. And I've met parents that said they started fighting the system, that this was the little things they knew. And they're like, no, the principal doesn't. And then he doesn't like talking to women either. That's another interesting fact I've heard. And he talked down to him, and he just tries to control everything, and he just has this ego trip. And I haven't even met him. I would love to meet this man. I have not met this man, but everything I've heard is like, they're like, he just drains you out. The moms couldn't miss work anymore. So they settled. They just took what they could get, and they're not even they shouldn't have to settle for what their children deserve and the access to education. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
And it's a federal law they're violating. That's the thing about it. Can you tell us a little more, are there funds allocated for this? And like, what are the legal requirements on their on their behalf, on the side of the district and the school?
Well, there's a disability act that actually the form is so long. I just pulled it up just like a few days ago, and literally it's like 504 disability acts that was put in. I think Bush is the one who made that act, and it literally has a huge list of requirements that are mandated to happen. Everything from TTY, there should be a TTY phone in each of those classrooms. So in case that child needs to call somebody, there should be the emergency lights, the interpreter, the list. I mean, this act is literally, it's not like one or two sentences. It's literally paragraphs long of what should be happening. And it's not. And that they're not being held accountable blows my, like, my friend put in a grievance against the school, and I think the district turned it down. So she has to file an appeal, which I just found out they turned down she has to file an appeal yesterday or the day before. She just found that out, that they turned it down, which she has facts, she has proof, she has recording, she can prove they didn't have what the services. They still are not up to code. And yet the district was like, oh no, you have to file an appeal. So now she's going above it, and she's working with an attorney, and they're fighting grievances against the whole district at the Texas level, at the state level. But the thing is, like I said, it's not just state, it's so much bigger than that. I'm hearing it from groups all over the country.
And with 45 and being and acting above the law like he does, it doesn't surprise me that people like him are doing the same, and we're seeing it affect every level of society, and it's such a shame. So what can the public do to get involved and to support? Because it sounds like we need to apply pressure. And so, like, I guess what I want to know what we can do within the context of what's happening at the school and with the district, like what kind of pressure the public can help apply. And also, what can we do to become better people, to become a better community, to help serve and address the needs of the deaf population in general?
Well, I mean, we're working on what you can do. Number one, if you're local, if you're in San Antonio, or can take a drive, because Texas is not exactly a small state. So if you can drive in, there are board meetings coming up. I mean, there's a board meeting December 11th, and there's a board meeting January, I think it's 22nd. It's the fourth Tuesday, and I will give all the information and the dates. But we need numbers. We need to show them that it's not one parent complaining, because I have thousands of people that are literally contacting me saying, what can we do? So if you're local and you could show up to this board meeting, we need to show them physically, like, look, we're here, we're hearing, deaf. It's a community that we care about these children, and they deserve their education. So that's number one. Number two, we have a form we just recently typed up last night. We're working on getting that out, and I can send that to you. It has a list of the things they're doing wrong. So you can take a copy of that and then add whatever you need to, email it, mail it. I'll attach phone numbers, emails, phone numbers, and names of everyone that needs to be held accountable for what they're not doing, because they're not doing their jobs. And third, share, just bring awareness, because there's so many people that, I mean, just have no idea. If the parents here locally that are taking their children don't know what's happening, and it's happening all across the country. I mean, it's literally worldwide problem, but literally across this country, where we have laws that are supposed to protect our children and give access to the people with disability, it just doesn't make any sense. And that people are not being held accountable, and they're just allowing this to happen over and over again. It doesn't make sense. So I think the awareness, all this is, so thank you. I really appreciate you calling me and doing this interview, because everything helps. And like I said, there's a huge portion of second language learners that are, speak Spanish, and people don't know how to get to them. The media needs to get out there. We need the Spanish speaking. We need the media for the news stations, for the radio. We just really need to get the information out there, because they need to know what they're doing is wrong. And if everyone does that one post or that one email, that's going to add up to so much more, because together, I think we're going to get these children the education they deserve. Because, I mean, deaf children can do anything. The only thing deaf people can't do is hear. Trust me, I've met them. They can do anything. I have one of them that owns their own dance company, other ones that are hairdressers, they drive cars, believe it or not. They do everything. They can do anything. And it's amazing what any child can do if you're given the right tools and the access. It's no different than any other child. If you're not given the language, the education, you know, Spanish speaking children, if they're here and they're not getting their foundation and what they deserve, it's the same thing. It's just, it's not fair. And we need to be able to come together and, you know, just support each other and to know that it's not their problem. It's not, you know, this is affecting all of us, and the children around them need to learn compassion and understanding that it's okay to be different, but we need to help each other. This isn't a one, this is a human, it's a humanity thing. And we need to do that together, you know, to support our fellows. I mean, I'm just, you know.
Yes, absolutely. And this is a personal call also to the media makers of color that are out there. You know, we people of color, we know what it's like to be discriminated, and these are issues that we know well. We know these pains. You know, it may not be exactly what they're facing, but we know what it's like to be cast aside, to feel the system try to wear us out, to make us so tired that we stop fighting, and we can't. We need each other. Media makers of color, please get in touch with Mayda. Please support this. When we publish this, we're going to publish it in English and Spanish, and we ask for your help. If you have contacts in the media, share it with them. The more pressure we apply as a community, as a broad community, the more chance we have of making change here, not just at this school, but at the district level and in beyond. So I strongly encourage all of you. You know, we have different layers of privilege, even if we come from communities of color, even whatever it is, you know, whether we speak another language, whatever it is, whether we have a tech ability, whether we know how to send a message on Facebook, share, like we have to do it, just like Mayda's saying, because it will make a difference. So I strongly encourage everybody to get involved. Stay in touch with Mayda, and also Mayda, just so that you know, Xica Nation, here we have an open door with you. Whatever you need out, we'll share it, we'll get it out, we'll try to make it as multilingual as possible. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and the advocacy that you're doing, because I know that it's hard, it's emotionally stressful. It's not easy to feel and to have to deal with that kind of pain, when it's happening to you, when it's happening to your people. So thank you so much for being that voice, and for putting this out there. If it wasn't for your videos, I would have never known. And you know, ever since I started watching them, becoming more conscious about the community, like, my God, you know, I start to see that the interconnection that we all have, and also the responsibility that those of us with communication have to make sure that all our people included, you know. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time with us today. Please keep us posted.
Definitely.
Do you have any last words you'd like to share with the Xica Nation community?
Just, you know, thank you for helping me get the word out, and, you know, supporting each other and these children is so important. I can't say that enough, because I don't think we realize, like, we talk about privilege. I think of privilege of hearing, privilege, like a basic, went to lunch the other day and we had a silent lunch, so there was no speaking, so we didn't use our voices from the time we walked in. So I had to order with no voice, and to watch the faces, like, I was nervous because I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? And then I was just like, okay, text, chicken taco, that's what I want. Then I didn't realize the woman, you could see her irritation because she had to take the time to read my text. And then to ask me which tortilla, because I didn't write with it. So she was like, you could see the frustration because she had to take that extra 2 seconds to ask me what type of vegetable I wanted or what. And it was really sad because I didn't know that I was hearing. I stuck to, like, staying quiet. And it just kind of made me really sad to think how privileged we are, even not just, but to have that. You know, I heard someone say, when you're blind, you're cut off from the world, but being deaf, you're cut off from people. Because if I was blind here, me and you can still have this conversation. But if I was deaf and you don't know sign language, how much more difficult would that be? You know, I think it's something we just need to think about, how we just need to support it. And whatever it is in special needs, I do have a child who has special needs, and it just, this would not be, I couldn't even imagine if they were not giving her what she needed. I'm on fire now, and these aren't my children personally, because it breaks my heart that no child should have to suffer in any way. And that's what's happening. They're breaking these children's spirits. And I look at my babies and no, like it's not right. And we need to be there for our future generations, because they need us, and we need to come together, all of us together, and spread our voices and spread the message. So I just thank you. We'll put all the information, and I look forward to giving you a positive update that we took down this principal and all these people a problem, and we're gonna make it happen. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, no, thank you. And everybody stay in touch. We'll be sending updates as they become available. And please be sure to share this post, to share the links, to sign the petitions, to make the phone calls. Let these people know that you know, and that their criminal activity is getting out there in the public. So thank you again, and we'll be in touch. Bye, everybody.
Bye, thank you.